All right. Hey there, everybody. This is Erin from ProsperWorks. I am on the marketing team here. And again, thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited to share our latest integration with PersistIQ with you. Um, I am joined today by two fine gentlemen, David Hernandez, who is a senior account executive here at ProsperWorks,
Hey guys.
and Puyan Salhi, who is the CEO over at PersistIQ. A couple of fun facts on David. He was our first AE here on the sales team, and he also uses ProsperWorks to sell ProsperWorks. And my favorite thing about him, because I'm also a member of the Run Club, but he's a co-founder of Run Club, and in case you were wondering, that is a club for running. And Puyan, he founded PersistIQ after being really frustrated with all the existing sales solutions out there. You know, they just really weren't working for him. And being founder, that also led him to be the first SDR and AE carrying the team. And his favorite question to ask when on calls is, why did you take this meeting? So just a quick agenda so everyone knows what we're going to be running over. We'll give you a quick overview of both companies, both ProsperWorks and PersistIQ, for those of you who maybe aren't as familiar with one or the other. Then we're going to give you some prospecting best practices, and then we'll jump into an actual integration of the demo. And we really want that to kind of tell you the story of how it really adds value to Puyan and David when they are prospecting. And then at the end, we're going to hold all questions until the end, but definitely if something comes up during the presentation, feel free to either email info@prosperworks.com or throw it in the questions panel of your GoToWebinar screen. And again, we are going to hold off on those until the very end. And just as a heads up, there will be a recording sent out of this presentation after we're finished here. And it'll go to all of you folks who are currently on the line, as well as those who registered but weren't able to make it. And now I'm going to hand it over to David to give you a quick rundown on who ProsperWorks is.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thank you, Erin. And yeah, just to reinforce that last bullet there, as you have questions through the presentation, there's a little questions piece in the GoToMeeting panel, so feel free to submit there, and we'll check back at that at the end of the session here. But yeah, a little bit about ProsperWorks, so you have that context before we just jump into the integration. For those of you who don't know us too well, we are a young company out here in California. We have one offering. It's an easy-to-use CRM. You know, our goal is to help sales teams sell more, and we do that by driving better sales behaviors. Right, prospecting being a big one of the a big one. So, I mean, we do a few things like really well. We've spoken with hundreds of sales managers. They all want a lot of the same things. One of those is to really stay organized, automate as much data entry as possible. They really want to help structure a repeatable sales process, so the lead to cash sales funnel is very clear. They want clear transparency and visibility into what's going on in the funnel, their bottlenecks, their sales history, so they can make really insightful decisions. And they need the solution to be super easy to use. And so if you've seen any of our marketing, you know that ProsperWorks is the only CRM that's recommended by Google. We built this for folks who are using Google Apps already. And the value prop of that really for the customer is that it's something that's just going to integrate with your team's ecosystem already. There's not a lot of learning curve here, right? If you can use Gmail, you can use ProsperWorks. So that is us in a nutshell. So I'm going to hand that off to Puyan over at PersistIQ.
Great. Thanks, David and Erin, and thanks everyone for joining this morning. We're excited to share this with you. So just really quickly on ProsperWorks, or I'm sorry, on PersistIQ, I was going to say one thing we share in common with ProsperWorks is building a system that, as David said, if you can send an email, you can use the system, making it very user-friendly and intuitive. And so at the core, PersistIQ is a communication and workflow system. And so what that means is it's really intended to help you communicate with prospects and customers and stay organized when you do so. And what we have learned both from our own experience, and as Erin said, we started the company because we were doing a lot of prospecting ourselves, and at that time we're living out of email tools and spreadsheets and trying mail merge and bulk mail sending, and realized that it was really hard to do so over time and over scale with prospects. So one thing that the system lets you do is, one, send more emails and make more calls. So as one person, you can scale your own activity numbers. Number two is make sure that you never miss a follow-up. And staying on track with every prospect is so critical, and that what we've seen is most folks in organizations today will send one, maybe two follow-ups, and then they just stop right there. Whereas you can actually get great responses if you get to 5, 6, 7, 10 touch points over time. Third thing that the system lets you do, and we'll show you this in the demo, we'll go in deeper, is most folks are using multiple systems. Your CRM, a communication workflow system, let's say a data source, and we've actually built an extension that helps you bring all of that together so you spend less time switching tabs and switching contacts. And one of my favorite points is the safety checks. And so this will help you avoid very embarrassing and costly mistakes. Specifically, if you're sending an email and you're using a template, not sending one that says hi first name, or I noticed your company. And so again, we'll show all of that on the demo, but just wanted to share a highlight on what PersistIQ is. So let's jump right in and talk about some prospecting best practices. And again, we want to make this today much more around showing than telling, so we'll go over this pretty quickly, and then we'll actually cover this again in the product itself. So we do a lot of prospecting. We see a lot of companies that are doing prospecting, and so these are some of the highlights that we've learned. Number one is quality over quantity at first. And so what that means is technology has helped you be able to send a lot more emails. You can use, a lot of systems now have just a one-off bulk email send. But what matters is that your prospects are getting very similar emails probably from your competitors or other folks. So they're buried in cold emails and calls. And so you want to stand out with quality touch points. And in our view, the best practices with that is start first with quality, and then once it's working, then you can expand to scale. And so what does quality mean? Well, in our view, it's making it about them, making it about the prospect that you're reaching out to. And this sounds very obvious. It's actually hard to do. But again, in the demo, we'll show you one trick that we've used here that's worked incredibly well. But at the core is, why should they care? And one of the things I love to do is put myself in the shoes of a prospect and say, I get my own inbox is blown up with cold emails every single day, and I do look at them just out of curiosity to see how people are doing it. But it's amazing how many companies or salespeople still start with, hey, here's my company, here's what I do, and here's why we're so awesome. Frankly, I don't care. What I care about is my own problem. So really get to the heart of that. And then finally, once you've figured out some quality that's working, you made it about them, then this is where you can test, measure, and iterate. And again, in the demo, we'll show you how you can do this. But the systems, both PersistIQ and ProsperWorks, have made it so easy to log all the emails and see what's working that you can finally go back to making really important strategic decisions on how you do outbound, or just respond to folks that are coming inbound to you. So with that, let's see it in action. And I think David's going to kick off here by showing ProsperWorks first.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you for that introduction there, Priyan. So I'm just bringing up ProsperWorks now on my screen. So I'm going to kind of start here with kind of where ProsperWorks begins, right? So if I'm a sales rep and I'm beginning that kind of prospecting exercise, all of my leads live here in ProsperWorks, right? So if you haven't seen this already, think of ProsperWorks as your single searchable database for all of those potential and current customers. For every one of these folks, we have the details we need. We have the interaction history that we've had with that individual, including the calls and emails from across the team with that person. The email communication ingested automatically due to that Google integration. And then the rest of that context as well. So appointments that are pulling from the calendar, files that are pulling from Drive. That full perspective of who each and every one of these folks are. But if all my leads are living in ProsperWorks, I really want to slice and dice and get to a target audience. So I can use this filter here in the top right-hand corner to filter by any kind of native or custom field that I have in ProsperWorks. So I can get a short list very quickly. So if I come here Monday morning and I want to send out a drip to the decision makers that I have in my system, I can filter by that tag, identify that list, and now I can take these folks and take action. The PersistIQ integration is just going to live up here as a Chrome extension. So I can actually take this target audience, and I'm actually going to transition over to Puyan, who's going to show you what our next steps can do.
All right, thanks, David. So I think while we get the screen switched here, well, I just wanted to reiterate here on the storyline that we're going with for this morning, because there is frankly so much that that can be done with these systems. So for prospecting efforts, what we're considering here is assume that you've identified your prospects, and hopefully you saw how easy it is to do so in ProsperWorks, and you've imported them in ProsperWorks, and that's the starting point. Now, there are a lot of other ways to do it, whether you're just working out of a spreadsheet and then you're importing, but today we just wanted to cover that use case. And so hopefully you should be seeing my screen now on the same page that David was on. I have those list of the leads right here. And so what I'll do is, I can go ahead and select them all. I can select a few right here. Let's go ahead and select them. I have PersistIQ available to me just one click away. And what I'm doing is I'm just clicking on push. And what that does is it's taking all of this data right here, and instead of exporting it into a file and then re-importing it, it's taking all of these contacts and pushing them right into PersistIQ. And so what that looks like, let's switch over to PersistIQ for a second, and I'll come back and show the add to campaign portion. So this is what PersistIQ is. And as I mentioned before, it's a system to help you communicate with your prospects, do so in a personalized way, and do so at scale. And here's a campaign that I've created already. And really what a campaign is a series of touch points. So if you've ever used mail merge or bulk mail, it should be very familiar to you. So I've already created a template. If I click on it, you can see where I'm using the subject lines of sales at, and there's a variable for company name, hi first name. This is the trick I was talking about that we use and a lot of companies we've seen use for making sure your messages are personalized. If you think of your communication in 3 chunks in your template, the first part is your opening statement, or the hook. The second part here is your credibility statement. So what you do, and then you have the third part is you have a call to action. And so for the opening side, we just leave that as a variable that you can populate in ProsperWorks, and it'll carry over. You can populate on a spreadsheet. So we'll come back and show you. But in essence, it's one template, and then another one, and you can see it goes all the way down to 10 touch points here. And so it's, in a way, it's a recipe of steps that you create in advance, you add your leads to it, and you'll make sure that you never, ever miss a touch point. And what's really important is that when somebody responds, you can see here, sending this message, if there's no response in 2 days, if somebody responds, we'll automatically mark that prospect as responded, and they will not continue to the next touch point. It hooks into your email account, so that's how we can do great response detection. If it's an out-of-office message, we can also detect that. But this is the concept of a campaign. And what I wanted to show you really quickly is how easy it is to create one. And if we go to the template section, you can see I have templates created already. But if I wanted to create a new one, it's as simple as running new template. Now let's say we want to reach out to directors of marketing, and we'll have this be email 1. And then we can have the subject be, sales and marketing alignment at. And again, I've got all those variables available to me here, so I can just write that in. And then hi first name, and then I can go ahead and write my template. So in the spirit of time, I can again show you the one that we had created here, and you have folders that you can help use to organize them. So once you've created a series of templates, if we go back to campaigns, creating the campaign is as simple as creating a new campaign or clicking on new campaign. And you can see it's just a basic form. So we'll say first touch points in email. We'll go ahead and select that VP of Sales email that we had written. Then we'll say maybe let's wait 2 days. And if we haven't received a response, then we'll send our service follow-up. And we'll click this button here to make sure that this is a follow-up to the previous email. So the subject line's inherited and the body's in the previous body's pulled into it. And then if we still haven't received the response, let's switch it up and actually do a phone call. And here I can say, here's our intro call, and I can actually write a call outline or a script for myself or for my team. And so here I can say, you know, remember to smile when talking, and then, you know, mention company name, and again, I can use that company name variable, and so it'll be pulled in for each prospect that I'm making the call for. And then we can go ahead and add more steps, and you can see how easy it is to create these, and then again, later on in your process, test and see what works. So hopefully you have an understanding, or given you a good understanding of what a campaign is and how to create it. So let's say if we do have this VP or Director of Sales campaign, we've had this built, you know, I've already have 19 people in here, and I've added those by going to my PersistIQ prospects table. So this is where I've uploaded some prospects directly into here. But what I want to do is from my CRM, from ProsperWorks, get those folks that David had narrowed down and add them to this campaign. And so if we go back to ProsperWorks, this is that part where I'd easily selected them. I clicked one button push. Now I can select the campaign that I want to add them to. And so here it's pre-selected that, but if I click on it, you can see I have access to all of my campaigns here. There's some more advanced features. We'll certainly cover those in the questions if anyone has, like starting, you can start them for future dates or times. But what's great here is you can see I've selected those 32 people, but this is where those safety checks that I talked about kick in. One of them is saying, hey, Puyan, you've selected 32. We're only going to let you add 27. That's because 3 of them are already in this campaign, and 2 of them are in what we call do not contact domains. So think of this as a suppression list of partners or competitors or customers where nobody on your team can reach out to these folks. So I say, okay, that's fine. You know, thank you for catching this. You know, certainly don't want to be contacting the same person with the same emails. So we'll go ahead and add those. And then now if I go back to PersistIQ, you'll see that that number just jumped up, and these folks are one by one being dropped into that first step. And so all I need to do then is click on Review Emails, and you'll see that all of these emails are lined up and ready for me to send out. And with one click, I can click Send, or I can go individually and send them. But what you also notice is that all of these have errors. And so again, this is a safety check kicking in, and it's got my back. It's saying, hey, Puyan, you forgot to fill something in for opening line. So certainly we don't want to send a message to John here and to have a hi John opening line. That's very embarrassing, makes our brand look bad. So these messages will not send. If you only want to look at the ones that are okay, you just check that box. So now you can actually see, all right, this is what it looks like if I actually do want to send it. And if I do want to fix the errors, all I need to do is click the Fix Errors button. Congrats on an amazing quarter so far. And it updates in real time for me. And again, once you send these messages, after 2 days, whoever has not replied will automatically line up and be ready for your next touch point. And so what I want to do is show you a campaign that we actually had running here, so you can see how the analytics and the stats work on the test and improve and iterate part. Or sorry, test, measure, and iterate part. So here you can see we reached out to 76 people here. We actually we turn our open tracking off. We don't even look at that, but it's easy if you want to do it. You can catch your response rate. And for each touch point, you can actually see how well it's performing. You can also A/B test at different steps, like we've done here, and we've actually disabled those, so we only have one version running right now. And you can actually see how your campaign's performing. Excellent. So I will leave it at that in terms of what PersistIQ is and how it works with ProsperWorks. So again, just a quick recap. You can filter down, add your prospects or your leads to your CRM, easily filter, and without leaving your CRM, again, we'll open that extension up. You can go ahead and select whichever prospects you want, open the extension, and let's go back to push more records and push. And you also don't have to worry about duplicates. Our system already knows if it's in. So I had previously pushed these. Even though it's saying it went through, it's not creating duplicate records. It'll just group them together again. All right, so I will pass it back here. Actually, yeah, so let me pull the deck up here for you, David. Going over the summary here.
Yeah, Thank you, Brian. Really appreciate the run through with ProsperWorks and PersistIQ together. So I think to just reinforce some of the things we went over today, and just kind of prospecting best practices by leveraging ProsperWorks and PersistIQ together. Target selection is obviously a big piece of that. Needing to slice and dice in ProsperWorks for a very specific target audience and electing them to a really specific campaign, right? Puyan talked about engaging with your audience by building your messaging, structuring those specific touch points. One piece I love as a sales rep, I can say in my day-to-day, is structuring, it's a call, it's a LinkedIn connection, it's an email touch, right? Really, as Puyan positioned it, creating that recipe for success, right? That's what ProsperWorks tries to help you do with making your pipeline a repeatable sales process. That's really what PersistIQ is going to help you do for your prospecting efforts, right? To help you with that execution. And finally, testing, measuring, iterating. I can't stress that enough, right? What you don't want to do is spend 6 months finding what you think is the right recipe and then throwing it down everyone's throat, right? What you really want to do is release that into the wild and then get that feedback and iterate on it, right? And so that's what PersistIQ is going to allow you to do, is really fine tune that as you realize what's most effective for yourself.
And David, one thing I was actually going to jump in on here, if you don't mind, I forgot to touch on, was the prospect from anywhere. And so let's actually, sorry, get out of this one. There we go. So in PersistIQ, hopefully you can see this, the LinkedIn profile here for David. When you do install that extension, one thing that you also get is that PersistIQ extension that's available anywhere. And so earlier I had mentioned avoiding switching tabs. So let's say if I do want to prospect into David here, I can actually open that extension up here, and I can just type in, let's say if we want to see if anyone exists at ProsperWorks in our system, and you can see it pulls everyone up at ProsperWorks, and there's David right there, and then I can actually go ahead and add them to campaigns. And one thing we do have coming up with the integration is a bidirectional sync. And so today it's just pushing from ProsperWorks into PersistIQ. When that next iteration comes out, when you add anything to PersistIQ, it would also get created in ProsperWorks for you. So just wanted to touch on that prospect from anywhere piece. And then on the test, measure, iterate, as David was saying, how important that is. One benefit of this integration is that there's almost no configuration required to start. So since ProsperWorks and PersistIQ both sync with your email, any email you send from PersistIQ will automatically show up in ProsperWorks. And as far as setting up the integration, it's really just installing the extension and adding an API key. So on that, yeah, go ahead, David.
Yeah, no, thank you, Puyan. And so I think the hot question is, right? Hey, how does everybody get started? So I know we have different kind of folks in our audience here. So if you haven't signed up for ProsperWorks, sign up for ProsperWorks. If you haven't signed up for PersistIQ, you can sign up for PersistIQ. Both of us offer free trials on our website, so you can go to ProsperWorks.com, you can go to PersistIQ.com, start trials of either if you have not already. If you are customers of both, then just setting up the integration, logistically, it's pretty easy. We'll send you a follow-up email with these steps so you don't have to memorize it. But essentially, you just want to go to your Chrome Web Store, download the PersistIQ Chrome extension. Then you're going to take the API key from ProsperWorks and plug it into PersistIQ, and then you'll be good to go. It'll live like that little box or that little extension in your Chrome browser, just like it did on our screen today. So just next slide there. If you would like maybe a more personalized demonstration of either product or some support during your trial, feel free to reach out to us at info@prosperworks.com. Just mention that you went to the webinar, you're very interested. We'd be happy to give you more hand-holding to kind of get set up here.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks so much, David and Puyan. That was an awesome run-through. And now we are going to hop into the questions portion of our webinar. I've seen a handful come in here, and just to reiterate, guys, we are going to be sending out a recording of this webinar. It'll have the instructions in there for how to download the extension. And let's see, let me pull up our first question. All right, so this will be a question for David. Jack would like to know for Puyan, once a lead is converted into an opportunity, do they stop receiving emails from a campaign?
Yeah, great question. So you can actually set up, you can set that up. It's not out of the box, but it is definitely possible to do. So let me actually bring this up. It depends on what triggers you have in ProsperWorks in terms of what happens to, let's say, the lead or the contact status once it's converted to an opportunity. One thing, again, what we're introducing today is again, V1 of the integration, which is a very simple way to get prospects from either ProsperWorks into PersistIQ and into communication campaigns. The bidirectional sync part, which we're working on and that'll be coming out in Q1 at some point, that's where you can actually have, on conversion from a lead to an opportunity, change the status of the person, and if the status of the person's changed, that carries over to PersistIQ, and then let's say if it moves from, an approaching to an engaged status, that marks them as finished. In PersistIQ, one thing you can do today is under company settings, you do have a lot of these triggers available to you. So we pre-build some that says when a prospect replies to a campaign, change the status to engaged. And then you can say, if it's changed to engaged here, then mark it as finished. So let's do that. The other thing so in a fully automated fashion, not today, but again, you do have access to this extension in ProsperWorks. So you could actually manually do it by just pulling it up, searching for, let's say, Alan at Avid Impact. There he is, and then right from here, and I can actually change Alan's status from approaching to engaged, and that will mark him as finished in the campaign right from there.
Perfect.
So hopefully that answered the question. If not, please follow up, and we can certainly do a deeper dive on that.
Awesome. Thanks, Puyan. So next question we have is from George, and he asks, do emails show up in ProsperWorks as part of each prospect's record? This will be for David.
Yeah, so that would be a yes. And Puyan, jump in here if I'm incorrect, but that would be a yes. The emails sent through PersistIQ are going to go through Google, and because ProsperWorks ingests all your Google communication, it's going to sync automatically.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. All of those messages will be there from PersistIQ, and again, there's no integration or no configuration that you need to do just by connecting to PersistIQ and authoring with the same email that you use. So I guess there is one caveat. You need to be connected to the same email account. So let's say if Alan at Avid Impact is that's his email connected to ProsperWorks, you'd want that same email connected to PersistIQ. And then as far as this Chrome extension, we didn't show a lot of these other tabs here, but another tab you do get in this extension is the activity feed. So a lot of the opens and clicks of just PersistIQ messages will show up here.
Great. So our next question, and this will be for you, Puyan, how do you coordinate multiple campaigns that could be created by several people at your company, i.e. leads receiving emails from different campaigns?
Absolutely. So we do that a lot, and one of the benefits of PersistIQ is that it's meant to be collaborative from the ground up. So really quickly, I'll show you, templates I showed you here. All these templates, when I created them, anyone on my team has access to them. They can come in and either, if I'm grouping them by, you can see we use PersistIQ for outbound. We use it for responding to inbound leads. And so let's say if you're using all of your inbound leads are showing up in ProsperWorks, right from there you can send them to, let's say, a demo request campaign, or, hey, just a trial sign-up campaign, or even for account management and customer success. Similar to how David showed you where you're filtering down leads, you can also filter down contacts and accounts. And let's say you want to reach out to folks that have been your customers for 9 months, renewals are coming up, you can have them there. So to answer the campaign part, one way you can do it is think of it as, let's say if you have a team of 5 sales reps and account managers, you can have each person have their own campaign. And so if I'm in ProsperWorks, I'm just kind of working out of my leads, I'm adding them to my own campaign. Or what I can do is you can have everyone work out of one campaign. So let's go ahead and I'll select these folks again. Let's push them back into PersistIQ. And again, it's not creating duplicates. let's select a new campaign. Let's say we want to do this call one first. Right from here, I showed you that from, you can actually select a different mailbox to send from. So again, we've just set up this demo account, so we don't have all of them, but if you have a team of 5, you can select which sender you want the messages to go from. And when you've created those campaigns, again, it's duplicating it for your team to save you time and effort. Let's say if you're great at writing the messages, you can just have your team go in to settings and click on duplicate, and it copies the entire campaign over. The templates, the wait periods, all the call scripts. So if you have somebody new starting on your team, you would just tell them, hey, go click on duplicate, and they don't have to mess with templates and setting anything up. They can just go ahead and get started right away.
Great. Puyan, there's another question from Tom. He asks, is there a filter in PersistIQ that alerts you if you're adding a prospect to a campaign if they've already been included in a previous campaign?
Yeah, actually, perfect timing on that. It's right here. So you can see I added all of these folks earlier in the demo to the VP of Sales campaign. Now I added them to the managers first. And so think of the safety checks that I talked about as coming in 2 levels. We have a soft safety check and a hard one. The hard one is something like, hey, 2 of these folks are in your suppression list, so you can't override them. Like, that's set. The soft safety check is telling me, hey, 5 of these folks that you selected are in a previous or in another campaign. Are you sure you want to contact them? And this is one I can actually override. And so this is helpful, let's say, if I'm running an outbound campaign, but I also want to invite folks to a webinar or an event that we're hosting. And I know that it's okay if they're already in a different one. And so you have that available to you directly from ProsperWorks. The other thing you can do is if you don't want to add people into campaigns, when you do the push, it actually creates all of those records for you in your main PersistIQ table. And so this is where ideally it's mirrored directly with what you have in your CRM and ProsperWorks. But what you can do is you can filter down here, select the folks you want. And again, it's the identical dialog box that shows up here of saying which campaign you want to send to. And then the safety checks there.
Great. So let's see. There's one here, and this one will be for David. Does PersistIQ integrate with Ring Central? I know Puyan, you'd covered that you can add phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
To so can you, if you're a ProsperWorks customer, can you integrate? Obviously, you can integrate with PersistIQ, but can Ring Central tie into all of that?
So let me take a stab at that in what I think, which is, hey, if I have Ring Central, I'm obviously making phone calls as part of my process. Can I just keep using Ring Central to make those phone calls? So while we don't have a direct integration with Ring Central, what you can do is when you have a call step come up. So let me do something here. Let's add these folks to this campaign. Okay, so we're there in the call first campaign. Great. So you can see I'm starting with a call first. I can just click on make calls. And PersistIQ actually has a built-in dialer as well. So right now you can see these are calls that I need to make. The script that I'd written is right there, telling me to smile, speak slowly, number of employees. If I had that variable filled out, it would pop in here. So if I click this button, it'll just make the call directly from my computer or through a bridge. Now, if I don't have the PersistIQ dialer set up and I'm using Ring Central, I can just go ahead and, I believe Ring Central has an extension as well where I can just dial the number right from Ring Central. But if that's something that folks want, it's certainly something we can look to build an integration with.
All right, and David, I'd love to get your take on this one. So Jordan asks, can PersistIQ replace MailChimp?
Yeah, good question. So short answer, I would say yes. If for the ProsperWorks customers in the room, if you are familiar with the kind of mechanics of the MailChimp integration, building your list and subscribing them to the list that you have housed in MailChimp, there's not a lot's going to change for you functionality-wise. You're going to go through those same steps, but PersistIQ obviously with this added functionality is going to add more value to your day. So I'd say, short answer for Jordan, I would say yes, and hopefully that was evident here in the demonstration.
Yeah, and then I'd also. Oops, sorry. Jose, I'd also love to get Puyan your take on that because I'm sure you run into that question all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me just say we also use MailChimp. So I think David's right. The short answer is yes, it can, but I think the longer answer is it really depends on the use case. And so I'll tell you how we use it and how we've seen a lot of other companies use it. Think of your stack as that there are really three core components. You have a CRM, and obviously, ProsperWorks is I think the best out there for ease of use if you're using Google, and just a ton of functionality. Not obviously because we're on this webinar, really believe it, see that across customers. Second, you want some sort of a marketing communication system. Let's say if you want to keep your prospects and customers updated on product updates or services or invites to webinars. And third, a sales communication system. So this is where if you have a lot of prospects and you're sending messages to, let's say, 10,000 people, that's not what you would use PersistIQ for. That's what you would use MailChimp for. They're great at that. You can draft beautiful HTML emails. What you would use PersistIQ for is the communication. Think of it as like one-to-one communication. You just want to do that at scale. There are some limits. Since this is connecting directly to your email account, from any one individual account, Google only lets you send, the numbers. I don't know the exact numbers, but I think it's somewhere on the orders of hundreds, maybe up to 1,000 per day. So if you are trying to do bulk sending in the multiple thousands or tens of thousands, that's not something you would use PersistIQ for. So I hope that clarifies it. Again, if we want to go into more depth, happy to dive deeper on that after the webinar.
All right. So, and just to be conscientious of everyone's time, we're going to make this last question. We're going to just take this last question. We've seen a handful come in about some PersistIQ pricing questions. But Durs asks, question on price, what is the difference between the light and the starter packages for PersistIQ?
Sure. So let me actually pull up the pricing page. So we wanted to make the system, again, very easy to work with, very accessible. And really the light is for if you're just getting started, it's just one person, you don't need a lot of team functionality, that's where you use light for. A lot of the core functionality in terms of the campaign, the setting up the campaigns, the templates, all of that is there. The core reply detection technology, all of it's there. Really where the difference comes in is when you start getting into some more advanced features. We didn't even talk about sending windows. This is a really powerful one, so you can actually go ahead and create periods of time. So let's say if I'm reaching out to executives like VPs or directors, I can actually say only send messages on Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays at these times, or Sundays anytime. And so you can control what days and times messages go out. It's features like that, or A/B testing, or when it gets into some more on the platform, or let's say on insights and reporting. We actually didn't show anything on reporting. All of those are hopefully listed out here for you. And if you do have any specific questions, again, in the spirit of time, feel free to reach out, and we'll make sure that you're set up with a plan that works best for you.
All right, great. Thanks, Puyan. And thank you again to everybody here on the line. Hope this has been a insightful, helpful presentation. We're really excited about this integration, and we'll definitely, it'll be a thing that's, in the works. We're going to be continuing to develop, and yeah. Thank you, everyone, for your time, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.